What's this? Genetically modified organisms are killing us? What is that anyways? Making us sicker? Unnatural foods? Toxic products? Should I be worried about what I'm eating?
Hey there, you seem distressed. Maybe I can help.
Who are you?
My name is Raisa and I'm a food scientist. I can answer all your questions about GMOs.
Actually, that would be pretty great. I don't even know where to begin. I don't even know what a GMO is.
Well, GMOs are short for genetically modified organisms. They are organisms that have their genes or DNA altered in a laboratory through genetic engineering. By changing an organism's genes, scientists are able to change their characteristics as well.
Interesting. So, why are foods genetically modified?
Well, let me show you. GMOs are produced for three main reasons: commercial, environment, and medicine.
Commercial? You mean like extending shelf life?
Exactly. An example of a commercial use of genetically modified foods is the white mushrooms. Genetically modified white mushrooms have genes that prolong shelf life, so they don't go brown as much.
Wow, that's great. I wouldn't mind mushrooms and vegetables with a greater shelf life. But what about medicine?
Well, one of the most common medical uses of GMOs is genetically modified bacteria to produce insulin for diabetic patients. A gene for producing insulin is added to a bacteria to produce larger quantities of insulin.
That's interesting. But I'm still a little skeptical about genetically modified organisms. What foods are genetically modified?
The most commonly produced genetically modified food is corn. Almost 85% of corn produced in the United States is genetically modified.
But what about my health? I love soybeans. But I keep reading these articles that tell me soybeans and corn make me allergic. I don't think I can stop eating soybeans and corn.
Well, it's actually a common misconception that GMOs cause allergic reactions in people, and a review of allergen testing in 2005 proved this claim to be incorrect.
Oh, thank you. Well, that's good to hear. But what about these antibiotic-resistant genes? I understand that genetically modified organisms get these antibiotic-resistant genes, but what about when I get sick? I want to be able to take antibiotics and be okay. Will consuming GMOs really confer this antibiotic resistance to me?
The studies that aim to look at the transfer of antibiotic-resistant genes to humans from genetically modified organisms are methodologically weak and incomplete. These studies have been conducted in rats with short follow-up times, and only a few GMOs have been tested. In fact, literature suggests that the risk of gene transfer from GMOs is very low, and is suggested to be lower than the rates of naturally occurring gene transfer in the body. Therefore, it's difficult to determine whether consuming GMOs in humans long-term will lead to the development of antibiotic resistance.
No, I hear what you're saying, but I'm still a little concerned. We go to the grocery store expecting to buy this healthy, nutritious food. But if these foods have toxins in them, and that increases their yield to save world hunger, as if that's real, are these chemicals really toxic to my body and my health?
Well, the minimum amount of studies that exist which look at toxicity from consuming GM foods do suggest the risk of hepatic, pancreatic, renal, and reproductive effects. However, the significance of these effects on causing any real harm to these organs in our body is unknown. The Food and Drug Administration, or FDA for short, agency has not yet found GMOs in the market today to be toxic or allergens. Even courts in the United States are in agreement with the FDA in the labeling of GMOs, and that it is unnecessary when there is no substantial evidence indicating a health risk.
So, what I'm getting is that all these media claims that say GMOs are bad for my health are unsupported by research evidence?
Yes, exactly. There is insufficient research to definitely say that they are harmless, but the World Health Organization, the American Association for the Advance of Science, and many independent international science organizations agree that GMOs are just as safe as other foods.
So, how would I know if a food is genetically modified?
Well, unfortunately in Canada, genetically modified foods don't have to be labeled, but Health Canada ensures that every new genetically modified food is safe for consumption. Most genetically modified foods in Canada are imported, and only a few are produced here.
Are there any organizations that do label their products?
Well, some companies do choose to label their products as genetically modified free, as you can see here. Labeling products is challenging as genetically modified foods can be used as an ingredient in a number of other foods.
Do all countries not label their genetically modified products?
Many countries, including most of European countries, have a partial or total ban on the cultivation of new genetically modified crops, but most still allow genetically modified foods to be imported.
So, if a country doesn't choose to label their genetically modified foods, how do I avoid them?
Well, here are 3 suggestions if you want to steer clear of GM foods. First, I would recommend purchasing organic foods, or foods labeled as non-GMO. Second, adopting a diet focused on fruits and vegetables. These foods usually avoid the use of GMOs since they are usually not genetically modified unless explicitly stated. Finally, shopping from local grocers or markets can be a good way of avoiding genetically modified foods. This is because free-range meats and wild-caught fish are normally fed grains rather than other genetically modified products.
Do you have some more resources for me where I can learn more?
For sure, I will leave some links with you for you to explore in your own time.
Thanks, Raisa.
My pleasure. That's my job as a food scientist, to help educate and raise awareness about genetically modified foods. So, are you still concerned about what you read in that article?
Not anymore. I've learned that all these media articles are just really portraying the public perception on genetically modified organisms. I now understand that there's minimal research in the field and that the results are really inconclusive. So, I think it is important that we as consumers evaluate all this information on genetically modified organisms so that we can make well-informed decisions.